Yes. Basically, I have questions about the practice in not so quiet place. I'm pretty sure I'm not the first person to ask this, but I never asked this myself. Because before this, I always had I'm fortunate enough to always have a place to practice where it's quiet. But recently, because I've been changing my working environment, and at least the place where I'm working at is quite noisy. It's not terribly noisy, but I could hear a car passing by. I could hear music blasting several blocks away. So there's some disturbance. Um, I noticed myself saying I don't like this, and it is a hindrance in the practice. I'm curious because um, just now, but just now I meditate. I kind of catch myself. There's this subtle voice in the back. I don't like this. I don't like this. And then at some point I say, it's all right. Like we are not going to after some experience. Let's just relax at this moment. And suddenly I feel better. Um, I think I kind of answered my question as in just accepting. Is that this is good enough?
Yes, that in fact, um, there are degrees of noise and there's degrees of reactions to noise. And you have some choice in some of that, most of it, in fact. And so, uh, if it's a really noisy environment, just to give me an idea, what is it? I have been in noisy environments. For instance, I have been in, um, I guess you would call it uh, it wasn't a diesel, it was a big turbo, the old one on a board a ship. And you go down to the engine room and it was noisy. Okay. I assume that what you're talking about is not that kind of noisy.
Yes. Because when you said a turbo kind of engine, to me it also even though it's noisy, there's no um my sorry, I'm having a hard time to describe it because it's like quiet for a moment and then it's not quiet for a moment. So there's like a fluctuation. It keeps like it's unpredictable because if I were to imagine an engine of a roaring truck, at least it's not in fluctuation. It's just like like it's not in fluctuation. Um, I think that's what really disturbed me because like it's like a peaceful for a moment, like maybe just for like 5 or 6 seconds, and then suddenly there's a car passing by again, and it just really snaps me out of whatever I'm observing. And I don't know.
Okay. Well, while the noise is not there, then you're secluded from the noise, and that gives you a chance to practice. And the practice then would be, wow, I'm so glad that it's not noisy now. And then the next line of gladdening the mind, wow, I'm going to be ready for it when it comes back.
Yes,
I can handle it. I can handle the noise. It's intermittent. It comes and goes. Well, everything comes and goes. That's what the Buddha talks about in Nietzsche, Vata Sankara. Everything is back and forth and up and down. And in that regard, we can practice well when things are not heavy. When the noise is not heavy, then you can practice, well, I'm really glad that the noise is not heavy. And when the noise is there, you can say, well, it's going to go away soon enough. I can handle it. And there's other things that you can physically do. One of the things that you can do is when it gets noisy, take that as an opportunity to take a break. Walk around, go to the toilet, go see a friend on the other side of the noisy area. All right, so Thomas is calling. Let's go ahead and invite him to the call. Hello, Thomas. This is Ivan. You saw him on the call on Sunday.
Hi, Thomas.
Hello, Ivan, and hello, Dhammarato.
All right. So what we're talking about right now is noise. He's changed positions, and the place that he's in is noisy from time to time. And so we can go over it again a bit, that when it's not noisy, you can be happy that it's not noisy. And when it is noisy, you can do something about it. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we can do about it is to change our attitude about it. In fact, you've probably been in noisy situations long time ago and you didn't like it. So you're already in the habit of not liking it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There are, let us say, certain kinds of things that happens. For instance, I was in music when I was in school, and kids playing musical instruments are noisy. They're not musicians. They make noise. And I got used to handling the noise. I rode motorcycles. They were noisy. Didn't bother me a bit. When I got into the engine room of the USS or Yellowstone, that steam boiler was noisy. And those turbines were noisy. Old equipment. Not a turbine like you would think of a turbojet but those are noisy too. Okay. But the engine room on a bigger ship is noisy. And you can handle that. There's also things that you can do, like wearing earplugs. Now, if the noise is only occasional, that means that you can rest your ears and take the earplugs out and put them back in. The guys who work around airplanes out there where it's really noisy, they will have big things to cover their ears. But I assume that what you're talking about is not that kind of noise. It's the kind of noise that people are making.
Yes.
Okay. Another example of a noisy place would be like a Walmart. Walmart's a noisy place.
Yes.
Okay. And you can go into Walmart and you're very interested in what you're doing and you're not paying attention to how noisy the place is. That in fact the noise comes and it makes a change, and then is when you don't like it. All right. So getting into the teaching of the Buddha, then with that, there is the three characteristics, they call it. And that is anicca, dukkha, anatta. All right. And it's not noisy, and then it gets noisy. And you go into dukkha because you don't like it. But you can also begin to change that. Oh, that noise is not me. That noise doesn't bother me. I don't own that noise. I don't have to put up with it. It's just noise. And you can begin to come out of those old habits that you developed of not liking noise.
Yeah. Somehow, when you said it's just noise, it sounds so simple, but something inside me just clicks, and I was able to see it. Yeah.
Well, the noise doesn't come and twist your arm. The noise doesn't throw you on the floor and sit on you, that all the damage the noise does is because you don't like it. That in fact it's you that's causing yourself harm because of the noise.
Mm.
It's not the noise that actually overwhelms you, it's your disliking of the noise that overwhelms you.
Yes.
And you can underwhelm yourself.
Mm.
There's no big deal. That here we have noise. In fact, Lucky really loves to yell and howl when certain sounds come, ambulance sounds and that kind of stuff. And she was just singing the song today. All right. There's motorbikes that come by. Sometimes the motorbikes are so loud I can't even hear what people are saying. But that's okay. They can repeat what they said when the motorbikes finish. So what you can do then is start to develop the attitude of you can handle that noise.
Yes.
That noise doesn't throw you to the ground.
Yes.
The adversity that you have to it is because you don't like it.
Mm.
So the next time that you have the noise and you don't like it, you can say, aha, I see that it's not the noise that's the problem, it's that I don't like it. That's the problem.
Yes.
That you're creating your own problem. Aha, I see that I do that. Aha, I see you, Myra.
Yes.
And then you can have a chuckle and a big smile. Wow, that noise is not bothering me at all. It was me that was bothering me. And I've got a choice over that.
I just remember the reason of my aversion was also because I had good meditation a week ago, and I kind of there's a comparison going on. Like this practice in the present is not good enough. I think that really is what throws me off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And now you've got noise, and the noise is not good enough. And it was always your choice as to whether it was good enough or not.
Mm. Okay. Yes, I see that now. Thank you, Dhamma.
And it was so simple.
Yes, it is so simple.
It is so simple when you recognize that, oh, it's not the noise at all. It's that I'm in the habit of not liking it. But look, you're in the habit of not liking all kinds of stuff. In fact, you can make yourself really miserable with all the kinds of things that you don't like.
Can I let Thomas go ahead? Maybe he has some questions.
Okay. So this is quite interesting. I substituted the noise for body sensations as Dhammarato was talking, and yeah, I noticed there was definitely an attitude of not liking body sensations.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you're calling them body sensations. Most people don't like them enough that they call it pain. And you know, there's all kinds of things that people call pain. Pressure, throbbing, itching, burning, all kinds of different sensations that people have. And they call it pain and lump it together as because they don't like it. It's all in the realm of I don't like it. that in fact you can handle the pain very much the way that you can handle the noise that we were just talking about. And that is that the sensations come and go. Sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. Generally, when they're not there, we don't pay attention to it at all. Instead of recognizing, wow, I don't hurt right now. Isn't that marvelous? Wow, no sensations right now. But that's unusual. People normally don't do that. They only notice it when they don't like it. And so that means that a lot of stuff that we notice, we don't like. And we spend our whole lives going from one I don't like to another I don't like. This is what dukkha is all about, is that in fact it's the liking and not liking that makes things a problem only because of our ignorance. That if you recognize that you don't like that sensation, then you can do something about it. Okay? Let me give you an example. Here on the porch, we're visited by all kinds of little creatures who think I'm delicious. And they bite and they nibble and they suck and they, we've got ticks and we've got fleas and we've got dogs and we've got, that's why we have ticks and fleas, as well as mosquitoes and long worms like this and all kinds of things. And they come and visit. And when you recognize it all, that they bite and chew because you're so delicious. Isn't that marvelous? And so we can begin to change our perspective. Now, one of the things that happens with people, in fact, I have known over the years, a number of different times when people come to Thailand for the beauty, the joy, the relaxation, and then they get up and they leave because of the insects. Because they don't like being bitten. And yet the Thai people, they grow up in that society, they grow up in that environment, and they don't have near as much trouble. And one of the things about that then is the Thai people have various products. And so what I'm introducing to you is Westerners. Also, here's a point, is that Thai people as a culture keep their fingernails cut very, very close from childhood. To where I've got fingernails that grow fast. In fact, the devil himself would be jealous of my fingernails. Long things, okay? And scratch, digging in, okay? And so it takes mindfulness to recognize that we can nurture that wound instead of not liking it and scratching it. That in fact, if we can use this as an analogy, when we are critical of ourselves, that means that something is on the mind, it's eating at you, and you don't like it, and so you're scratching the mind. You're trying to get rid of it. All right? That's the criticism. And we need to come out of that critical mind state into a nurturing mind state, which is part of what I was talking about with Ivan just a few minutes ago, is that when the sounds come, he starts to scratch at them. He doesn't like them. And what we can do with those insect bites then is take a balm, like this one. This is a, actually, I don't even know what they would call this, but they had tiger balm and monkey balm, and this is some new product on the market. This is from Bayer, but it's the same stuff. Bayer balm, I suppose. and that you can take that and rub it in, nourish the wound. If you scratch at it, it's going to make it worse.
Mm.
If you scratch at the noise, it's going to make it worse. If you scratch at any sensation because you don't like it, you're making it far worse.
Mm.
What we can do instead is begin to use wisdom and to start to nourish the body, nourish the wounds, nourish the bites, nourish the tiredness, whatever it is. If it's really, really hot, then take a break. Rather than hating the heat and working through it, take a rest. And one of the things about that is that we keep working through, even though, let us say that you're sitting on a chair that's uncomfortable and your butt hurts, but you got work to do. So you're supposed to ignore the butt and keep working, and now it really hurts, and now you really don't like it. But you could have noticed it early. And start to nourish yourself. Take care of yourself. Start to enjoy your life. Take the pressure off. The pressure of success. Because real success is enjoying life, not getting stuff done.
I was also thinking how, because at least my ignorant mind says I don't like this, and then don't like this is so strong it loses the opportunity to like you said, make a change, or make some change from, because it keep going, I don't like, and then it doesn't go into, we can actually do something about it, which is interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, when we don't like it ignorantly, then we're caught and stuck in the not liking. And it cycles and goes around itself, and we build up into dissatisfaction. But if we can become wise to it, if we can watch what we're doing, if we can see it clearly, then we have a choice. And we have a choice to break that cycle, to take a break, to rub balm on that itch instead of scratching it. And in the case of the noise, recognize that the big problem with the noise is that you don't like it. Yes. And so we can turn that not liking to liking very, very easily. Like, aha, I see that I don't like it. And by changing that, I see that I don't like it, that's a win. Because yes, before you didn't like it and you were ignorant to the fact that you didn't like it. In fact, we go so far as to blame the noise. The noise is my problem. Now, that's really stupid. That's really ignorant. Okay? The same thing is true with sensations and pain in the body. To say my problem is the pain in the body is really, really stupid. It's ignorant. But when we recognize, oh, that sensation in the body is just a message telling me something, telling me I need to do something. Let me pay attention like a wise, nurturing mommy and nurture that wound, nurture that bite, nurture that broken arm, whatever it is. You know, one of the things that kids, they normally will heal very quickly, but they tend to take too long to mend a broken arm. Why? Because the doctor will put that arm in a cast, and he may even put it into a sling. But what they don't do is put a glove on the hand, and that glove then is actually sewn to his chest so that he can't move the hand. But kids will, with a broken arm, I saw that when I was a kid. I did it when I was a kid. All the other guys that were have a broken arm, they would try to pick up things, drink juice, and use that hand. And while you're using your hand, it actually is moving all of those muscles in the arm that prevents the arm from healing. And it hurts. And then they say my arm hurts and want a pill for it, where in fact all they really need to do is to stop moving their hand. Stop with all the greed and just let it rest. So this is a clear point that we need to let the body rest so that it will heal, instead of scratching it or not liking it, tormenting ourselves with criticism rather than nurturing ourselves and let ourselves heal. Now that's what I've had to say without all you've given me is the word sensation, Thomas. I don't know what else. I'm kind of in the dark. Can you explain to me a little about what you're talking about?
Yeah. So there's definitely has been this not liking comparing it to how practice was before, like this kind of extreme joy and opening of the chest, really kind of really pleasant mind states. And then when practice isn't that, then there's this not liking, there's this wanting to get to there, and I haven't noticed that as an attitude. And the sensations, what they are, it's usually the chest being closed, or the diaphragm, the upper stomach being really tight and difficult to sit, or then I usually just practice laying down. But those are usually the sensations.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people, especially in Western Buddhism, they think that meditation is all about sitting in cross-legged postures long enough to make it hurt. I don't know where that mentality comes from, but I think that it came from some pope or another, where kids had to kneel on the floor at the church. But anyway, what we can do is start to practice in whatever posture you're in. That if the body is hurting, it's okay to lay down and relax and enjoy the fact that you're laying down and it's relaxing.
Yeah.
To take the pressure off of yourself for getting something done. Okay? Now, what you're talking about here is not just typical, it's almost guaranteed that a student will have a session where they're practicing well, having good thoughts, and begin to feel really good. And then later, they want that same feeling again. But now they've added a couple of new ingredients to it. One is, before you were practicing, you didn't know what was going to happen. You were just relaxing and going through the steps. But now you've added the goal of, oh, now I know what I want to feel like. Okay, so now you want something you don't have. You're actually adding now a new dissatisfaction, wanting something you don't have. In fact, it's in the sutras, that's the major definition of what is dukkha, wanting something you don't have. And the funny part about it is that it's easily enough. Just keep relaxing, just keep enjoying the moment, and pretty soon that feeling of elation will come back again. You did it once, you can do it again, but you have to proceed in the correct way and not add these new ingredients like, wow, I know what I want to feel like now. Wow, I want to feel a certain way. But in fact, you could go so far as to say that a meditation experience is the major problem with meditation. People make all kinds of decisions about it. Like, now that I've had it, I want it again. Or now that I've had it, that makes me special. Oh, I'm a whoop-de-doo meditator now. All my problems are solved. And then when new problems come, what happens? They lie to themselves about it. That's what happens. Because they've already decided that they've gotten something special. And the reality is that it's always right now, moving from one moment to another moment to another moment. And each time we move, there we are, here and now. And so living in the past, like having an experience and then wanting that experience again, is in a way living in the past rather than living in the moment. Wanting something that you used to have that you don't have right now, instead of allowing this moment to be good enough. We're not looking for a whoop-de-doo wow experience. We're looking for things that are okay. They're good enough. Can you keep that up? Can you keep coming back to and sustaining that feeling of everything's all right, everything is fine, no problem at all? We're not looking for wow experiences. Wow experiences are actually what is a big problem for meditators, because now they're wanting something that they don't have, or they go around bragging about something that's in the past.
Yeah.
You have heard the expression, "He who lives by the sword dies by the sword." Okay, what that basically means, you can see it in a stark reality of that the young champion is 20 years old and he is using that sword left, right, and center, maybe Japanese, and he's out there whacking on bamboo or whatever like that, and he's a really, really good swordsman. And then he becomes 21, and then he becomes 31, and then he becomes 42, and he's still out there with that sword. And when he's 75, whacking people in half, one of them's going to whack him back. Someday or another, he's going to have to put down that sword, or he's going to have it used on him. Okay? So, whatever that you keep doing is going to do you in. And the only way to avoid getting done in is to stop doing. To just sit down and relax. Whatever needed to be done has already been done, and you're okay the way things are right now.
Dhammarato, I have this. This is just. I think it's more like an idea, but it kind of helps me. Is sometimes I kind of catch myself saying, "What's the point of this practice?" As in, but then I kind of was just thinking back throughout my life. For the past 20 years or so, I've been in a cycle of dukkha. As in, I guess what I'm trying to say is, does that kind of contemplation helpful? At least for me, I'm not sure if I'm tricking myself. I do see it as a wholesome thing. Like I realize I had been in a cycle of dissatisfaction throughout the past 20 years of my life, and do I still really want to always be in that state without any way to deal with it? And that kind of makes me appreciate the practice. I'm just curious, does Buddha has some sort of similar view? Like, is this the right view? I guess I'm not sure.
Well, you could just let all of those kind of thoughts go and just say, everything's okay. Everything is all right. We can relax. We can come out of our disdain and disliking that, in fact, we create all of our problems because we think something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And reality is just reality. It's not based in right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in real. So let's get real instead of trying to make something the way that we want it to be, or we're still trying to make it the way it's supposed to be. Idealistic people are the most miserable people in the world because they keep running into reality when they're trying to find something ideal. So let things be just good enough. When there's no noise, that's good enough. When there is noise, aha, I can see I don't like it, and now that's good enough.
The more I practice, the more I realize it's catching that dog or whatever hindrance is the most important thing. As in, like, sometimes when I'm practicing, I having doubt, and catching that doubt is actually really important. And in a non-judgmental way, like I just see it and I say, I don't need to have that. I would assume that's what you are always trying to tell us. Okay.
Yeah, making things important, that's also another way of making ourselves miserable. When you recognize that nothing's really important. I mean, things that are real are not important. What's important is what you want. What's important is how things should be. But how things actually are is not important. That way we can take our life really easy by living in reality.
What about unwholesome visual thoughts? Do we treat them the same as unwholesome mental talk?
Unwholesome what kind of thoughts?
Visual thoughts, like unwholesome visual imagery that comes like from because sometimes you can have, or I can have, wholesome talk that are mental talk, and then at the same time there is unwholesome visual images.
Okay, but those are just another way of thinking. That when I use the word thought, I don't necessarily mean verbal or discursive thought. All right? That in fact, often the thoughts that are bothersome happen very quickly to where discursive thoughts take a sentence to express. But visual thoughts and feeling thoughts can be very fast, very quick, and that you can have a flash of a mental image that lasts only 1/10 of a second, and then within the next second, the person is full of anxiety. Then, in fact, in the old days of movies, they were making experiments like that. For instance, if they're doing a horror movie, they will insert just one frame of a skeleton or a ghost or something that's attacking, or maybe 1 or 2 frames to show the movement. And most of the audience won't see that stuff, but they will become afraid anyway. Some of your thoughts are actually really fast, and generally the ones that are very fast are images. These images pop in and are very fleeting. In fact, it's for a human, it's really hard to hold a mental image for a long time. They normally flash in and out. But if you can see that you've got those, then start to pay attention to it rather than having reactions to it. Because the reactions are what you would call subconscious, or what I would call stupid, ignorant, not watching what's going on. And so if you can see those mental images, be sure to congratulate yourself in the sense of, aha, I see that. I see those flashes.
So
In
there's
fact,
no need
that's a.
to,
Go ahead.
so there's no need to create new wholesome mental images. You can just congratulate yourself and then let them disappear.
Yeah, because they're let them disappear because that's what they're going to do all by themselves anyway.
Yeah.
Is to continue to congratulate yourself rather than here's an idea, because I see this with code, that while I'm writing code, I'm doing that, but when I go away and are laying in bed, I'll think about the code, and then my thought will be instead, hey, I don't have to code right now. I can code later. And I know that I can do it. I don't have to work it out now. I know I can work it out later. I have that trust. You see, when we're trying to work something out, it's because we don't trust that we can do it. We're trying to figure out a way to do it, where in fact, we don't need to figure out a way to do it. We'll figure it out later when the time is correct. That in fact, when we're trying to work something out like code on the computer, one of the things that I'll tell you a little story about it is that when I was in university, we had great big mainframes and our code was all put on punch cards and we had to submit it. And so we at best could get 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 runs a day. To where with a laptop, you can try it over and over and over and over and over again to get it right. Okay? But if I'm laying in bed, I'm doing it over and over and over again, and I don't know whether I've got it right or not. And so it's better not to try to write code in your head. Instead, we can have thoughts like, oh, I can do that. I don't have to work that through. I don't have to figure it out right now because I trust myself that I can figure it out when the time is right. Now, we can do that same thing with an argument. But in fact, that's a common thing that happens with people in meditation. They'll have an argument with their girlfriend or their spouse or somebody, another student, and then they'll finish the argument and they'll both go into the meditation hall, and each one of them is continuing that argument. They're thinking about it. Oh, what would I say next? I've got it now. I know what I'm going to say to him. And the reality is that if you say that, he may come back with a really beautiful whippy-dippy thing that just destroys your argument. So it's better not to make up arguments when you're alone. It's better just to have the thought, oh, when I see him again, he's a good friend of mine. We don't have to argue. Everything is going to be okay. So this is all coming from that issue about these images. You don't have to set the image right. You can just congratulate yourself for seeing that image and say, wow, no problem. I'll deal with it later. And then when later comes, you can say, wow, now is not the time either. I'll deal with it even later. And pretty soon, we don't have to deal with anything because it's always going to be done later. So begin to have the idea that right now everything is okay. Right now everything is fine. And when those thoughts come, aha, I see you. And now I'm back to okay again. I don't have to chase that thought. I don't have to finish that argument. I don't have to write that code. I can just lay here. Wow, what a relief it is.
I was also reminded of how recently I've been very aware of sometimes I may be meditating or I'm just resting. and then there's a thought coming out saying this is really important, and a few minutes later, it suddenly doesn't feel important. Like in that moment, it feels really important. I just think it's so funny how either it's my thought or my emotion really convinced me that it is really important, that you really need to do it, and later it's just suddenly it's not even a thing. It's just like it's just so quick, the thoughts or the emotion. I'm not sure which is it.
I know. I used to spend my whole life in a hurry as if there was a deadline every minute. I got to get it done. I got to get it done. And life is much easier when you don't have deadlines. The lines don't drop dead. You have plenty of time to sit and breathe and enjoy life. If you've got a job that makes you in a hurry, it's better to go have another job. Just let things sit. Reality is not in a hurry. People are in a hurry because they want things they don't have. There's a song I remember. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the moment last now. Skipping down the cobblestones, looking for love and feeling groovy. Okay, so this is how we're going to live our lives, except for the looking for love part, because we don't need the love. You've already got all you need. Only victims are looking for love because they don't know how to just be okay without it. You don't need love. The Beatles were absolutely dead wrong. They say all you need is love. Nope, you don't even need that. Just relax.
I have my last question, a very quick one, is about craving.
A quick one, actually. You're bad.
Yeah, I've been using
Have
that.
you seen that built into our language? It's just a little one.
Yes, it's funny.
Yeah, it's a quick one. Or come here right quick. So you can begin to use language like come right slow. I have a slow question for you.
Okay, I have a slow question. Well, not too slow, but yeah. It's just about craving. Um, I understand that I risk, like, by just having awareness and observing it, I could be free from the liking and disliking, and simply seeing that there's a craving for something. And then it can just go away by itself. I'm because I guess in Buddhism, everything is about the present moment. If the present moment that it feels too impossible, like as it doesn't go away despite no matter how I might do it, thus thinking about the future can be a skillful thing, because I just have to imagine, do I still want to deal with this problem years later? So I guess it's just a question of, there's nothing wrong to thinking about the future if it puts you in a wholesome state. Or maybe I'm not understanding correctly.
It depends on how you look at the future. Like I was saying before, I'll do it later. I can handle that. It's no problem. Most people thinking about the future is because they're worried that something will go wrong.
Okay.
that there's a problem. Okay. Here's an example of that after 10 years, the visa is going to have to be replaced. Not the visa, the passport. How much time do I have to think about? How many times do I have to think about doing the visa? Where in fact, all I need to do when it's time to do it is to get on the internet, read what the U.S. government has to say, fill out the thing, pay for it, mail my visa in. That's all there is to it. So why should I keep thinking about doing it and thinking about doing it and thinking about doing it? Is because I'm afraid that something will go wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. That's just an attitude. It's an old habit that something's going to go wrong. That's why we keep planning and thinking about the future. Is we think that something's broken. But in fact, nope, there's nothing broken. I can take care of it.
Yes.
And now instead of thinking about the future, I can think about how nice it is right now. So we don't have to think about the future so much, because when we do think about the future, we'll say, I can do that.
It basically is the attitude with the future, how you relate to how you see it. If you could see it as like, I could deal with it, and there's no need to stay in it can come back to the present. Okay.
Victims live in the future because something's going to go wrong. But if you're a winner, then you don't have to think about the future, because nothing's going to go wrong. Everything's okay. And if something goes wrong, that's only my attitude that it went wrong. Actually, what happened instead was, the reality was, is that it went real. That's just how things are. Reality is this way and that way. And when we don't like it, we think there's a problem. And so if we're in the habit of thinking that something's wrong, then we'll think about the future a lot, because we're trying to avoid a problem, not recognizing that in this moment, while I'm trying to solve that problem, I'm creating it. I'm not in a really good state right now. I've got a problem that needs to be solved. When in fact, I can't solve it right now.
I was just thinking about what if at the same time while you are teaching, there are subtle levels that you're teaching also, and I don't get those subtle levels, and that was an unwholesome attitude towards it. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. What I say is just right out in the open. It's easy peasy. If you don't understand it, you'll hear it again. There's not a problem. We're in the habit of, the whole society is in the habit of making problems where none exist. So we have to practice making sure that we can see that right now there's no problem. We need to practice that, because we're already in the habit of thinking that something's wrong.
Yes.
One thing, when I like to take walks and people pass me, I usually like to do metta, and I don't know if that is coming from an unwholesome state or not.
The metta that's trying to fix things, the metta like may all beings be happy, that's trying to fix them because you see them as unhappy. But if you have metta like, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Spread your joy. Everything's okay already. That's real metta. Real metta is when there is no problem. All we have is friendship. But wanting people to be happy, because you're not going to make everybody happy. You can't do it. That's wanting something you don't have. That's the danger with metta, the way that it's practiced, is trying to fix something that's broken. Where people are not broken, just ask them. They'll make sure that you understand they're not broken. When you're trying to fix them, they'll go off and be unhappy by themselves. So don't try to fix anybody because they're not broken. That way we can talk the Dhamma and spread the joy. And everything's okay.
There's like a huge blind spot where I'm not sure how or where it originates, right? There's this so much organization trying to help people, and there's this message in society that you have to go out your way to help people. I'm sure that's altruistic and very nice, but I think that's a blind spot. Is it a blind spot?
But if you treat people from your own mind, that your own mind is already okay, then you can treat people as if they're already okay. If you treat people like there's something wrong with them, then they're going to react.
Mm.
But if you treat everybody like they're already okay, then your life will be really easy.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So what would be like a practical example if I would walk down the street and then I would, my reaction would be that that person is unhappy? Do I just like see that my reaction was that and congratulate myself and let everything be okay?
And then you can smile at them. Just smile. Yeah. You don't owe them anything. Don't try to give them anything other than something that they want, and everybody likes to smile. So just smile. That's all there is to it. Well, guys, Dietrich's going to call in any minute now, so why don't we go ahead and finish this call? I really enjoyed it with both of you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. It was really nice. And nice that I got to know, so that was great.
Yes.
Good to meet you, Toumas.
It's good to meet you too, Dhammarato, and good to meet you too, Ivan.
You too, Thomas.
Okay, guys. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.